So remember back in geometry class when you were learning how to draw a circle and how to define a circle? Well, you may remember that you learned lots of different words for different parts of the circle, like radius, circumference, diameter, pi being related to them. Well, you may have also remembered that one definition of a circle is all of the points equidistant from a center point. So you can draw a circle using a compass, where you put the one part of the compass on the center point and then you draw a circle around that point. The point of this is that there are lots of different ways to draw a circle. This same idea occurs in Java when you want to create an object, because there are lots of different ways to construct any given type of object. And so when you are actually using objects in Java, you need to tell your program how you want to construct any object that you want to use. For example, when you create a string, you need to tell Java exactly what letters go in that string. In this lesson, you're going to be using a special package from Adhesive, which is called the Shapes package, which gives you access to lots of different classes that represent different shapes. And you're going to learn all of the different ways that you can construct and use these shape objects in one of your programs. Welcome everyone to Unit 2, Lesson 5, using constructors. In the previous lesson, we talked a little bit about classes and objects and how you create an object that is an instance of a class. But in order to do that, you have to actually construct that object. Now, you've actually used constructors already, but we didn't really talk about it yet. So every time you created a new string, that's calling the string constructor. Those parentheses after the string, that means you're calling the constructor method. Every time you created a new scanner, when you typed new scanner parentheses system.in, right? Those parentheses and the word new scanner, that's calling the constructor for a scanner. In this lesson, we're actually going to look at some custom constructors, though, to learn how to construct different custom classes from a custom Adhesive Shapes package that we're going to give you. So the first learning objective for this lesson is to learn the basic features of the Adhesive Shapes classes. All right, the Shapes classes is a package we put together to represent circles, rectangles, regular polygons, and this is going to give you a chance to work with some custom classes that might give you an idea of how you yourself later on might be able to represent real-world ideas using classes. The second learning objective here is to instantiate objects of a class using different constructors, right? Shapes are not always constructed in the same way. Sometimes for a circle, you know the radius. Sometimes you know the diameter. Sometimes you know the circumference, right? All of these are different ways of constructing something. And so we need to have different methods that apply to each of those different constructions. But in order to use the Shapes class, we need to talk a little bit about packages. See, classes in Java don't just come out of nowhere. They're not just built into every computer. Some programmer somewhere had to actually write the code for any class that you use in a program. And then those classes are packaged together into a package that is kind of like a file folder, right? You put all the classes in there, and then if you just import that folder, then you're able to use and access those classes. Most of the classes you've used already come sort of standard. Things like strings are included by default in a package called java.lang. So the package we're going to use for this lesson is called the Adhesive Shapes package, and we're going to use it for the rest of the unit to practice some other ideas about classes. In order to use the Shapes package, you will have to add this line of code to the top of your program to import from the Adhesive Shapes package, and star here means we want to import all the classes that are in that package. And now I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to add our import statement up here at the top, adhesive.shapes.star. And you may not have even noticed these other import statements that have been here all along, but those are what give us access to things like scanner, to system.out, and we've imported them so that we've been using those all along. But now that we have shapes.star, I just want to compile my program to make sure that everything is still working, and we're good. Now let's go back and have a look at what we can actually do with our shapes.star package. So using constructors are a special method that create a new object. And every class actually gets to define its own constructors. We wrote these shape classes so that you can use them and had to actually write the code that defined these constructors. And you'll have a chance to do that later on in this class. But for now, you're just going to use the ones that are pre-written for you. So this line here creates a new circle object using the keyword new and calling here the circle constructor. So if I add that to my code here, circle C equals new circle, and then let's just see if we can print that out. Compiles, and it runs, and here it actually says circle with radius 1.0. So this default circle has a radius of 1.0. All right, that's enough to get you started. At this point, go ahead and make sure that you can get the shapes class imported and running, and then we'll come back in a minute here with some more complex and interesting things you can do with shape constructors.